sit there and listen to a lecture or be shown how to do something, that's great. Or if they have to actually physically do it themselves, you know, you see the differences in how people respond, which is why that old learning concepts were developed in the first place, because those examples were there, and you did see it on a constant basis. And it was something we could test and prove.
Working in a factory almost 100
And that's true too. Like my grandfather, they did an interview with him before he passed away, and one of his questions asked was, what piece of advice would you give people to the young ones today compared to when you were young? And his piece of advice was, learn, get an education, because the world is changing. You know, back in his day, he could go out and dig ditches. He could go out and clean streets. You know, he could go out and do that kind of physical labor. Whereas today we have machines that do that. We don't have the same opportunities for personal welfare as we did back then.
True, and the whole automation thing. I mean, about the whole, changing in work conditions. What's coming is you may end up working with some of that stuff as well. So, like, that's revolutionary stuff. So, yeah, you've got to keep learning stuff. So, make sure that you're in an industry that can't completely taken over by artificial
You gotta go. So much within a year.
Right. And that's part of the reason why evolutionarily speaking, we no longer value strength over intelligence anymore. Is because our opportunities are different, and where we're going as a society is different compared to where we were 100 years ago.
What do you think of the proposition that men create the hierarchy, and women's attraction adapts to whatever's at the top of the hierarchy?
I think that's bullcrap.
Fair enough. Why is that?
The truth of the matter is, the way I see it is, historically, we've done what we have as men in order to try to make the women happy. And the truth of the matter is, their desire for something is what has driven us to accomplish what we have.
Well, that goes back.
Okay.
That goes back to me saying, like for a lion and a lioness. Lioness always goes out hunting. We're the only species in the world that think one sex is better than the other.
And and as a species, I think a lot of us have fallen into that concept because we've become overly inundated with our own self-worth. truth of the matter is, though, I don't think any one individual, whether they're male or female or whatever, what have you, is really any better than the other. They all have their own place. They all have their own unique skills and abilities, and
I look at it as
yeah,
you do what you think you're best at.
yeah, in many ways that's the case.
I don't care if there's
Going through with native with like Oneida's upbringing, one of the biggest things for us is we were taught women are as close to God as you could possibly ever be. The reason for that is because women create life in their body. Men don't do that. We can't do that. But almost everything else speaking, women can do that men can.
Found some.
Yes, there are some physiological differences. We do have naturally a greater strength, what do you call it?
Well, greater muscle mass and things. That diverges at puberty. Yeah.
Right, and we do have that range, a greater strength range than what women normally have. However, when it comes to normal day-to-day activities, there is nothing a man can do that a woman can't.
That's why I think back in the
But women can do something men can't. They can carry a baby. No man in history can do that.
True, but the thing is, what's so critical in terms of the male role is the protection side, and often protection from other men. That's the other thing.
And that is true. However, I have trained students who were like one of my favorite students that I've ever had. She was a gymnast. She was a young girl, and the reason why I started teaching her in the first place is because she was being picked on by a high school kid. And she was in middle school at the time, so she was like 4 or 5 grades behind him. So 4 or 5 years growth difference between the two bodies. Now, I began training her because she was being picked on by him. After about 6 months of training with me, that guy came by, saw us training in the backyard, and his comment was, "Oh, you're learning that pussy style of fighting, huh?" I looked at him and I said, "Be my guest, go ahead." And I stepped back. Her father was sitting on the porch watching this, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Watch." So this kid comes up, throws a punch at her. She grabs his arm. He throws his other hand. She grabs that one. She rolls backwards, kicks him over her, lands on his shoulders, and smacks him in the forehead.
And he's an idiot because someone who has a degree of martial arts training is always going to be powerful than someone who doesn't. And that's
Right.
But
the idea behind that is that we're not inherently necessary for protection. They can learn and can become protectors themselves. In fact, we have many women who are in the military. We have many women who are in police departments, who are in police fields, and they're just as capable as we are.
But here's the issue, right? When it comes to women in the military, the bad aspect of that is if they get captured by the enemy and prisoner of war, and then forced to have the enemy's children, the enemy can use those women to create more soldiers for themselves, and that's a differentiation between the men going to war versus getting women to go to war. So yes, women can do the same things as men can do, but there are extents to these things. It's like that there was that football match between the the American women's football team and some high school lads, and the high school lads beat the women's football team something like 4-2 or something like that. And yeah, it's not, you know, this is the thing. Men and women can do a lot of the same things because there's more similarities than there are differences. But at the extremes, there are much greater differences, and one of those things being aggression.
And that is true. That is one of the biggest differences between us. But on the other extreme, women also tend to be much greater caretakers. They tend to be more empathetic than men do.
Yeah, so higher in agreeableness, and that makes sense because when it comes to raising young toddlers and things, that is a very useful trait to have.
Right. What were you giggling at there?
I'm not very agreeable.
Yes.
I can vouch for that.
I'm often very contrary.
Let me ask you: Are you were you a lot more agreeable when it came to raising children?
I love my children with all my heart, and I would do anything for them, and I do take care of them as best as I can to the best of my ability.
However, in order to answer that...
Oh, whoa, there's a however to that. Whoa. Uh-oh.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, I'm more patient.
He is.
Interesting. But also like when I say this stuff again, it comes down to the whole generalities rather than specifics.
And truth of the matter is, women tend to be a lot more patient because they are more empathetic than men are, on a psychological basis.
Yeah.
In that regard, we are no better because we have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. They have their strengths that complement our weaknesses, and they have their weaknesses that our strengths complement.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
She knew.
Shall we?
So, truth of the matter is,
friend's request.
yeah, sure. Let me just.
Let me see. I don't have my notifications turned on, so I didn't see it, but I got it now.
Okay.
Because I do a lot of live streaming, so I don't want my notifications popping up and giving a black screen.
What are we hunting?
You are hunting deer.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because it probably puts out the error code trying to load that up.
In the direction of deer.
Well, what happens is, when it comes on my stream, it shows up just as a black box in the top left-hand corner of my screen, which blocks out everything that my viewers are trying to see.
Yeah.
So I don't have my notifications pop up for that reason.
Why are we doing this now?
Because otherwise I'd be getting notifications anytime somebody posts in something.
I've seen that while watching people stream. Like I've seen that come up and it just blocks it. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's why I have it turned off, so that doesn't happen. So I'm glad you told me, because I wouldn't have known.
Oh, no worries.
I would have known as soon as I logged out, because I'm the type, I have to, if I see a notification of something, whether it's in a game I'm playing or if it's on the system or on my phone, I have to find out what that notification is. And I have to clear it, because I don't want notifications up there that I don't know what's going on. So I would eventually see it anyway, because I'm always going to clear that out, but I wouldn't have seen it until I log out, which I don't know when that's going to be, honestly.
I have my chat notifications all silenced, so I have to check the chats for new shit. Or else, like, because there's, the people on it at the time, you just get messages.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, and sometimes you don't see something until or you're gone to bed, or you're not on right now, you're watching video, you're doing whatever you're
How
doing,
are we gonna get across?
listening to music while you're doing whatever. And then all of a sudden you get that, you come back and you see that somebody asked you a question 5 hours ago.
Yeah, right. It happens. That's like,
Yep.
Go.
Yeah.
What really annoys me is when it's a time-sensitive question. Like, I have to, for example, and I've never had this happen, but an example is, how long do I make this turkey for? Well, if I find out on Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving afternoon or evening that they ask that question,
When I tell you,
it's too late to answer by that point.
right?
Yeah.
do not
Oh
be
dear. Yeah, that's very stupid.
find it.
Hi, Evie. How was your day?
It's good.
Fine.
Got home just half an hour early today.
We're getting into some
Yeah.
spiritual talks here.
And then you come in here and you hear us talking about the differences between men and women in our societal basis.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's why I came in here.
let me sum
It
it up.
fills the void.
We've been talking about like evolutionary psychology and the uniqueness of humans or not and that type of thing. So yeah, it transitioned into the similarities and differences between men and women on a psychological basis. Yeah, I think that's pretty much caught up.
Yeah, pretty much. We haven't touched on physics yet.
I heard you guys.
Well, physics is a whole different field. So while I don't get all the maths around quantum mechanics and the standard model, I understand some of the philosophical considerations, and I'm kind of curious at the moment with this whole multiverse theory. Because I'm kind of interested to kind of find out whether there's anything like any decent theoretical model, or whether it's sort of just being more proposed to sort of fill the gap between quantum mechanics and just having differences between that and gravity. So that's where the kind of next trip down the rabbit hole has to go for me.
Yeah. Well, as far as that's concerned, from what I've seen thus far, there is no, other than a mathematical theory, there is no evidence that we have that stipulates that a multiverse exists. However, it does explain certain things that we have witnessed, both mathematically and experimentally.
Is that making assumptions with
Yes.
string theory?
Yes, that is honestly
Okay.
making assumptions with string theory because of the fact that we can't figure out another way to explain it at this time.
We do what we please, boy.
Okay.
Excuses.
So yeah, because at the moment string theory is just at the level of a hypothesis.
Exactly.
I mean a well thought out hypothesis, but still, you know.
Can I have my back now?
I do find it mind-boggling about
We should get closer.
dimensions being wrapped around parts of space and things. It's quite an amazing idea.
Never wanted to take me.
Yeah, and when you take into consideration that in order for string theory to work the way we think it does, or in order for multiverse to work the way we think it does, we have to take into consideration that you could be sitting occupying the same space as another you or another 1,000 yous, just in different scenarios, but you're still occupying the same space.
but then if it's different scenarios, it's not the same space because
Well, like say for example, you could be sitting in the same spot playing a different game, or having a different conversation, or talking to somebody completely different. But you're still in the same space.
So from what I've understood so far, it sounds like with this multiverse theory that the different universes being proposed are not in contact with one another. So on that definition, it wouldn't be the same space because the universes are located differently to start with.
Right, and that's one of the things that makes multiverse theory in and of itself kind of confusing, because it's like and there are different theories as to what the multiverse theory is actually. But one of the most common right now is that the realities, so to speak, the different universes are layered on top of each other. That they all exist in the same place, just in their own unique pocket of reality.
Okay. They exist in the same space but in different. Oof. Okay. So that's an interesting idea, but also like this is being used to kind of explain that our universe isn't special, that with the whole Big Bang thing, because from what I understand, the multiverse is what one of the big ideas with it is to kind of counter the idea of things like the fine tuning, with cosmological constants and that type of thing, to sort of get round the idea that there is some sort of personal creator for everything. But what I'm not understanding with the multiverse theory is how can multiverse theory explain the problem of infinite regress? That's what I haven't got my head around with it.
Really, it doesn't.
Do not think of it as an animal.
Because of the fact that with the infinite regress, it's exactly that, infinite. There is no beginning in any way we try to describe it, whether it be theological or whether it be secular or whatever. There's always a point where there is no such thing as a beginning, because it's just constantly there.
Yeah, that's what Aquinas described as like the unmoved mover.
Exactly.
No.
And
Finish what you started.
so the interesting thing is what I've realised from this is there are certain dichotomies that you can come to about the origin of all things. Like is there a reasoned creation of all things, or is there a non-reasoned? Like is there something physical or supernatural, mental, by a mind, or just material, and that type of thing. So that's sort of and what. So sorry, you were saying?
He's cussing at his game.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay.
Non-important shit,
All right. but like this is the thing. Like if you want to go for a non-personal origin, you've got to have some sort of physical, eternal property as a first call for everything else, which is mindless, but then also doesn't have any kind of reason for anything, for bringing anything else into existence. And that's kind of where I work through the philosophy. The philosophy just stood up to it seemed more rational, that there was a rational origin to everything than a non-rational origin to everything. And that's where I got to through the philosophical thinking. Yeah.
And that does make sense, especially as far as we're rational creatures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we look for rationality in pretty much everything. And truth of the matter is, if you look at nature in and of itself, is there really a rational reason why a tree grows? Or why a tree changes from one species to another?
Well, that depends if you see if there's some sort of intelligence behind everything, whether that's alien hypothesis, God hypothesis, or not, because that this sort of, in the end, you can explain the mechanistic processes, but that's differentiated from the question of agency.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important consideration, that science itself is looking at what's mechanistic.
Fuck you.
So
Knock your ideas. Knock your ideas.
You'll get used to it.
Some little fucking bitch picks Well, it sounded like I was saying your.
It kind of did, yeah. It kind of did. That's what makes it so freaking hilarious.
I guess we learned don't play Call of Duty. Discussing philosophies and shit.
Nah, it actually works out perfectly, because sometimes these discussions can get very serious and very dry, and having somebody initiate something that has nothing to do with what we talked about but work perfectly with it just breaks everything up.
Yeah. I just, this is just got the old brain aware of the science.
Right. But yeah, it's a lot of it has to do with the fact that I think we look for agency because we want agency, not necessarily that there is one there. And that's one of the biggest differentiations between science and theology, is science does look at the mechanic and not so much at the why. Whereas a theology doesn't necessarily look at the mechanic, but they look more at the why. And the truth of the matter is, one doesn't debunk the other in reality. You can be a theological person and believe in science. All you're really answering is, how did God do this? Or how did whatever it is you believe in do this? And that's really all that's being answered through science. Not why it was done, or if there was even an entity there doing it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But I think having the combination of theology, philosophy, and science is actually quite useful. You know, people understanding what they believe, why they believe it, but also understanding how to reason through stuff, and then what's going on in the natural world, like that makes sense as a combination. Not that everyone's theology is going to be necessarily like Bible based or Quran based or whatever else, but having the actual thought processes that come with that, you know, even having a systematized view of what kind of values you have, that can be quite a useful thing. But there's something that you've got me thinking about with this whole utility thing, because just because we look for specific order, it doesn't necessitate that order isn't there, or that it's not true. So the fact that we see it isn't necessarily. You may say it's not necessarily a truth determiner, but ultimately we can only go via our own sense experience. So in terms of finding what most accurately conforms with reality being that which we are consistently experiencing, then that's the best you can do.
And that's also why there's multiple different theologies out there, is because each individual experiences reality in their own way. Mm-hmm. And they see things in their own way. A perfect example of that is, like, say, for example, if you were to witness a car accident at an intersection, mm-hmm. half of the people might see that the light was one color, while the other half of the people see the light was a different color. Mm-hmm. So they're experiencing that same event, that same reality moment, but mm-hmm. they're experiencing it differently.
Yeah, so there's an interesting kind of juxtaposition between the individual experience, but things that are also actually objectively truthful. So the only reason why any form of science works in the first place is because there is a consistent order which can be investigated. If everything was relative to just our own experiences, such investigative methodologies would never work.
Right. A perfect example of that is somebody dropping a pencil. All of us are going to experience that pencil falling to the ground. That's just the way life is.
Yep, makes sense. Rev, blooming heck, man! Like, shit, seriously, you know, this is some, you know, intense stuff. I love it.
I told you get a good conversation out of them.
No, it's good because like some of these ideas I've been playing with for a while, but I haven't had anyone that I can sort of bat them about with. That's the thing. Like and also sometimes I put forward thoughts and ideas to kind of see if there's anything to them. The danger now with trying to do thought experiments is there are too many people that will go, well, that's what you actually believe, and it's like, no, sometimes it's just about investigating the ideas to see if there's anything to it.
Exactly.
And you know, that hierarchy thing is interesting because there's definite hierarchies that we form as human beings, both actually amongst men and amongst women.
There is, and unfortunately, that is a reality, but it's not one that should be existing. But we also create hierarchies amongst our own selves within our own groups. So, for example, if you take 6 men and put them into a room, one's going to emerge as the leader.
Yep. But that's also evolutionary useful as well.
Exactly.
Because there's a whole survival question there.
Right, and that also goes back to the whole thing with defunding the police, in all honesty, because they're going to need somebody.
Brilliant full circle.
We need somebody to lead, somebody to help protect and guide, and that's where that comes in. If we take out one group, another group's going to step in to fill that void. And that's where that whole... one of the things that I found interesting with a lot of these talks is that in all actuality, even as far out as we can go, being like all the way out to Multiverse 30, we can see where it's all actually interconnected in our own brains. And there's a reason why we go from point A to point Z, and we can find our way back to point A if we honestly look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it all runs down on one basic concept: trying to understand what's going on around us.
Yeah. It does.
Gosh, damn it, kid.
Yeah, there's some serious frustration going on with that.
Yeah.
Mods. Gosh damn it, mods.
Yeah.
It's but it's not real, guys.
It's a fucking game, man.
The game might not be what's going on in the game might not be real, but the frustration is.
Oh yeah, the frustration.
Yeah, the frustration's real and stuff like that. I'm playing the newer God of War. So.
Oh wow, okay.
They got me
Fair
doing
enough.
trainings and stuff like that yet.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, and the whole time we've been sitting here talking, I've been standing by this campfire.
You lost control.
I came into this game to originally get something accomplished, and while I did get something accomplished, it wasn't anywhere near what I was planning on doing. And that, my friends, is a whole example of how life works.
Yeah, but also not being funny. That the conversation we've been having has been way more interesting than anything that you could be doing on Neverwinter, and you know it.
That is true, and that's part of the reason why I've been standing at this campfire the whole time.
You know, this flipping Echoes of Prophecy has just been the most tedious flipping thing I've done on this game. Like, you know, it's just a shame we don't have medicinal marijuana over here. I'd be tempted to get a brick and just start the old rolling it up and Rizzler and all that stuff.
And
I knew you two would like each other.
Hey!
No, you.
Oh.
Holy shit!
What's going on?
Twizzlers edibles. Huh?
They actually do have something similar to that already.
But you told me never to go down there. Who is that?
It's all.
Although I myself personally, I would probably eat them all and get high off of.
From Cat, I think. thing.
Tell me what I want to know.
Yeah. Although Twizzlers are my weakness. For her, it would be chocolate. You
Yep.
can't have edible chocolate.
Yep.
Fudge.
Oh my god.
Do you know?
Is that her? Is that her kryptonite?
Yeah.
Edible fudge.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you know what?
Sounds good to me.
My wife knows how to make fudge. It's,
Does she know how to add the 420 to it? That's the question. If she does, brother up. Damn. Interesting proposition.
It's you know, free from fun substances. Let's say.
Talk about shit and American goods.
Either way, homemade fudge
trash.
sounds delicious.
It does.
Yeah. What I didn't realize was it uses condensed milk, but hey ho, that's like one of the key things to it. But yeah, she can make it, and you know, stop and all that sort of stuff. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, it's always astounded me how cooking is literally chemistry, just practical.
Hey, thanks, Mom. I kind of felt like that was happening.
I mean, think about it. You're taking many different ingredients of all kinds of different sorts, like milk and butter and eggs and whatnot else, and flour, and combining them together, and you make a cake.
Yes.
You take a bunch of wet ingredients, and then you have something dry come out. That's moist, but not wet.
Whoa.
And then, if you send that cake to SpaceX in a bit of green herb, you then get a space cake.
Yep. Yep. And then you'll have a bunch of space cases.
Yep.
But that's all part of the fun.
Rev, like you are something else, man. Seriously.
Well, I do have a shirt that says, "I'm not normal."
Well, no, you're a not that, right? But that's fine.
Yeah.
That's more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Most definitely.
I always tell people I'm crazy, but I'm the fun kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Dang it.
You're like a mushroom. You're a fun guy.
There you go. Yep.
That's pretty cool. I like that one. I had to put that one in my hat. Yeah.
Dude, that's from the old dad jokes compilation. That one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you hear what Putin said in a fucking interview a couple of days ago?
What's that?
No, it would have been a couple of months ago. You remember Biden came back from Russia. He had he said that he looked people in the eye and he said, "You're a cold-hearted killer." And Putin was then asked, "What do you think about sudden calling you a cold killer, and he does something similar to what Montanus did. Well, when we were growing up back in the day, we had a say, and it was that basically sticks and stones would break my
Words will never harm me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yay
I'm gonna
haw.
go get some drinks. Uh-oh.
Can't find the mailbox here.
You want a mailbox?
Echoes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you how you were doing on that campaign.
Right. Are you ready for this? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat?
I am.
Right, so 82% done. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you've got 36 days and 13 hours left.
Well, yeah, you keep putting a time clock on me, but I bought it out. This is your own target here. Like, trying to pressure me to do it in your time. Like, what the heck? Like, you know.
And this is why there's no real
goals.
This is why there's no real hierarchy.
Why are there two beds?
Listen, Rev would love to be pressured with some goals, I'm sure of it. but no, like, Kat, what did you end up studying it into some of this stuff?
I talk to Rev about it sometimes, but most of my stuff is creative, like photography and stuff like that.
Okay.
Graphic design and...
Yeah, she's got a beautiful artistic eye. The other one's not bad either.
So when you say photography, are we talking like being a snooping journalist where you see people spy on people?
No, I do landscapes, urban landscapes, and abstract photography.
Right. So you take pictures of Picassos and skyscrapers. Got it.
I'll have to get some of my photos and post them to the group so you can see what I'm talking about.
But yeah, pretty much.
But yeah.
Well, like for example, she took a picture of a series of gas pumps. Now, for everybody else, you just see a gas pump. You know, something to put gas in the car. But the way she took the picture, the way she sees it, is through the handles of the gas pumps while they're sitting on the pumps themselves.
Okay.
Which adds a whole new dimension to what was there.
Mhm. Yeah. Sounds like it could belong in the Pompidou Centre.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, did the whole Paris thing.
Yeah. That or she'll take a picture from a street sign from the ground up instead of at the sign itself.
Okay. I see.
Because that's the way she sees the world, which is, to me, fascinating.
I don't have time for this.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, it's that sounds more interesting than most people have noticed. So that's pretty good. So I'm curious. See, because I've got a bit of a creative side and I've got a bit of a intellectual side as well. So So yeah, that's when with that other artwork, do you do any sketches or?
I used to sketch, but I don't anymore. I color, I crochet, I scrapbook, I do my photography. I do business cards and stuff like that for graphic design, but
Yeah, she actually went to school for graphic design.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you're a proper graphic designer. Oh, brilliant! Right, okay, yeah. That's a cool stuff. Yeah.
But she refuses to help me design my brand for my streams.
What? Why? That's mad. Sheesh. Could have come up with you know, something pretty slick, you know.
Well, I did design his logo. I did do that.
Fair enough. But no, I've worked with graphics a fair bit. Like I once had a really hard picture. I had to represent. It was flipping natural gas combustion engines in trucks, and I tell you what, it was the most buttery thing I've ever seen in my life. just horrendous. So I did something semi clever, and I got a picture of a truck, and then I got a different picture which contains an electric charger, and then just cut out the electric charger and then put it in the other photo, and then adjusted the shadows, and because it had a strong shadow in a particular direction, when I put the shadow in, it looked like it had been part of the same image the whole time. So yeah, I kind of got away with that. But
sweet.
Otherwise, yeah. I'm not graphic design trained, but like I've got a bit of an artistic interest, let's say. Like when I was younger, I went to a place in London called the Wallace Collection, and it's an amazing place because it has Renaissance oil painting type art, and then it's got swords and armor as well. So yeah, it's got a really nice combination of things, and it's like a big sort of mansion place. Really,
it sounds gorgeous.
Yeah, it's probably one of my favourite museums to go to in London. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been to Tate Britain's good as well. I didn't like Tate Modern. That was traumatizing. So went in Tate Modern, and then got on this floor, and there's this art piece, which is literally a woman who's just filmed a guy standing on a chair dancing naked, and that was the whole art piece. And I just went, no. To me, that's not art. If you can find it on Pornhub, it's not art. That's my rule. You know, that's.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So yeah, and when I was in Spain, I got to see the Salvador Dali Museum, and that is incredible. There's a whole exhibit where you're in it, you just see some seats arranged, and then you climb up these stairs, and then you get to the top, and you look down, and it's this complete face. Just genius.
Wow.
Yeah. Salvador Dali was just a genius. So yeah. So people like him Picasso, you know, people who are actually proper artists, I can understand. People who are like Tracy Emin, who freaking takes a picture of an unmade bed and calls it art. No. I draw a line when it comes to artwork.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, no, I in the Pompidou Centre in Paris, there was literally a picture of a square on a wall. So someone had just done a single coloured square, and I just looked at it and I went, right,
yeah, that's almost as bad as the famous painting that's literally just a dot in the center of the page. It's like, really? Yeah, this is what you qualify as art.
Or shades of white.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, anything like that, I just put my foot down and say no, which is why I don't go to Tate Modern ever. But yeah, that's right. I just need to switch controllers because my controllers run out of power. 1 second.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Back.
Brill, that seems to have gone reasonably smoothly.
Yeah.
If I can actually put my other one on the charger, that would be helpful. always good. So yeah, it's the other thing as well. What's quite amazing is what you can do with artwork. So I worked in a mostly female environment for quite a few years, and when I say mostly female, 80% female, that was eye-opening. that I learned a lot through being in that environment, and like one of the interesting things was just the social dynamics. So where I was working in HR, and what I realised very quickly, that there would be successful women who would come from other areas of the business, and they would specifically move themselves over there, and then within about 2-3 months be having a baby, and like most of the women did that. They'd come to HR and they'd have their children, and then they go part time. I can't tell you how many times I saw that as just a standard practice. But what it meant was, when I was trying to sort of have my head down and work hard and things, I got myself in trouble for it, because I was told that I wasn't so socially aware enough, and that I wasn't fitting in with the social environment enough. So yeah. But yeah, I was actually told that on a review that I was working too hard.
How weird is that?
Well, the thing is that there was all sorts of like there'd be various bits of morning gossip and things, and so like what one of the interesting things, I had a manager who she didn't think I liked. So one day we had a team meeting, and then she asked me to stay behind afterwards, and I'm like, uh-oh, something's gone on. What's happened? I can't think of anything.
Yes.
Like I was racking my brains thinking, I haven't said anything, done anything, and then she said to me, "You don't like me, do you?" I said, and I just looked at her, puzzled, going, "Huh?" I said, "Why do you think that?" And she said, "Well, you don't say hello to me in the mornings." And I just looked at her, puzzled, and I said, "Well, when I come in, my focus is just getting started in the day to make sure that I'm getting on with my work." And it's like, well, she said, "Well, in future, make sure that you're not so head down and focused, and make sure that you're more socially aware of the situation." It's like, wow.
Never leave me alone again. All right?
All right.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, man. I thought that you'd appreciate that
We've had to kill people before, haven't you?
funny story.
You're used to it.
We do what we must to survive.
That is
Animals
hilarious. I have never ever had a job where I've been told I'm working too hard.
People, they're trying to survive too.
Close your heart to it. On our journey.
That just boggles my mind.
Well, the thing was that all because all the women would go there with the intention of having babies and things, like they were all sort of taking their foot off the gas.
Here all this time?
So that was the whole culture, and then they were all buying baby gifts for each other, and the practice that I always found really weird. So like after the woman had the baby, like a month after, she'd then come into the office with a stroller holding the baby, and then all the women would sort of swoon around and pass the baby around. "Oh, they're so cute," and I'd be looking at it, and it's going, "Yeah, the face is crumpled up, and I just don't see it," and you know, I'd just be sat there keeping my mouth shut, going, yeah, but just keep it quiet, don't say anything. So yeah, that was definitely an interesting experience. But that's so in that job, I got the chance to do some to do some graphic design and things, and I had a photo of my head of department, and I don't know what the equivalent of like an Essex girl would be in the United States. I'm trying to trying to rack my brains, but anyway, this female head of department, I got a picture of her, and then I was practicing my skills. So I put some eye makeup on her, I put some lipstick and things, and yeah, it was like I'd used the burn tool to give her a slight bit of tan on the face and things. So you know, I thought I'd done all right with it as a, you know, first sort of go, and just sort of showed it and things, and like, oh wow, the women crowded round, they were laughing at it and that type of thing, and they rinsed this head of department, saying, "Oh yeah, you know, this makes you look like a proper Essex girl," and all this sort of stuff.
Really old.
And like, it was only afterwards that I realised, flipping heck, I didn't realise, but I could have got myself in a lot of hot water for that. Like, so like, if I let's see, can yeah, so like, if Essex girls from Essex over here are essentially, how do I say it?
Yes.
slags,
Friendly?
right?
Trying to rob us?
And they wear lots and lots of thick makeup, and they go through men like many Americans go through all-you-can-eat buffets, and so that's there was a whole sort of look that I'd done with that, and so yeah, that was one of my earlier graphic design experiments, and I found the liquify tool and realised, oh, actually, in Photoshop you can actually make women thinner. I'm not sure how ethical this is to use at work.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, it's just for me, it just got really bad when some of
The stairs are broken there.
we had an away day, and some people
Did you cut those down?
that with HR there are always team building exercises, and one of them was how to kind of market Tesco in a new way, and the just one group got completely carried away and decided they were going to market Tesco doing the Wizard of Oz. Oh man, the cringe! It was so cringe. I walked out. It's like, Dorothy, then you've got your magic shoes, and when you tap them together, guess what? The magical Tesco discount comes out, and I just went, no, this is just too bad.
So,
Oh.
how long will it take
Right,
to
you know. Thing is, like Tesco is in the UK what Walmart is in the United States.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's massive, but yeah, no, that was just nuts. So yeah, it's just a bit of my own craziness.
Odd experiences with groups of women.
Mm-hmm.
I was working as a casino at a casino as a dealer, dealing cards, and I was on a blackjack table, 21.
And you met Kat.
No, but I was sitting there. I had a table full of women there, and at the time I was constantly flirting with everybody, regardless, because that's how I got my tips. And one of the things I would do is I would sit there, and whenever a 6 would come out, I'd say sex instead of 6. So as I'm sitting there dealing, a 6 would come out, and invariably I would say that. All of a sudden, this one woman goes, "Oh, speaking of sex," and she started going off about a fantasy she had, which then got another woman talking about her fantasy, and pretty soon the whole table was talking about fantasies and stuff they wanted done to them. And my supervisor is sitting there, comes over, leans against the table, looking at me, and after the table's done, I talk out my tips and stuff, and I walk off, and he goes, "I don't know what you did, I don't know how you did it, but do it again." I learned more in 20 minutes on the table than most people learn in 40 years of their life.
That is mental. That is absolutely mental. And I bet half of those things could have gone in 50 Shades of Grey as well. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I was sitting there laughing at some of the stuff they were going off about. I'm like, really? It was interesting. It was fun. I had some interesting discussions with people on those tables sometimes. I was on one table, and like I said, I flirt with everybody. I had this one table and sitting there, and it was obviously a bridal party. And this one girl sitting there, and I asked, who's the bride? And they pointed out who the bride was. And I looked at her, I says, "Do me a favor." She goes, "What?" I says, "Don't invite me to your wedding." She goes, "Why?" I said, because I'd be jealous I'm not the one up there marrying you.
Oh, dude, serious cringe. Wow.
Yeah, but you know what the funny part about that is?
Wow. Yeah.
7 spots on that table, every one of them filled with women, every one of them put up a $200 check from me.
You legend. Okay, you legend. That's it. $200 tip, man. That is good going.
Actually, it was $1,400 because it was 7 people, $200 each one.
Wow.
So I walked off that table in 20 minutes with $1,400 in tips.
Genius. Absolute genius.
One of my other lines I used to always use on women was I would walk up and I would, whether they were sitting with a guy or not, didn't matter. If it was sitting with a guy and it was obviously their boyfriend or husband or whatever, I'd sit there and I'd walk up and I'd tell him, do me a favor. He'd go, what? I said, tell her to smile. And when he would, because it was something silly, she'd smile and I'd go, oh, you got a beautiful smile. You could do that more often. And then I'd walk away.
Wow.
And it's stuff like that that got me my tips. I used to make more as a dealer on those tables than
I can do that.
most people would make in a month of working 40 hours a week.
There's a Yetnar settlement ahead.
Yetnar.
Giants.
You can
That's
read the writing.
insane.
Some.
And that was just by doing stuff like that. You know, I mean, if I wanted a new game system, it was 5 minutes worth of work for me.
No.
Wow, that's good going. That is really good going.
And it's because I would do stuff like that. And, you know, I didn't only flirt with girls, but I also flirted with guys, but not in a way that was creepy, so to speak. With the guys, I would sit there and I'd say, oh, I really like your tie, or I really like your shirt, or something like that, you know. Or if I felt if they were in business attire, I would sit there and ask them about what their business was, or I'd ask them about the market and how their business was faring in the market, stuff like that, and getting involved in those kind of conversations. And before long, I'd be getting people putting tips up for me that normally don't tip. I had one dealer sitting there complaining because she was on a table with a bunch of business people, and she wasn't making any money off of it. So I told her, I says, well, here, let me show you how to do this. So I tapped her out, and she stood out alongside me, and I sat there and I started talking about stocks and bonds with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, I've got $100 on each slot. So $700 off of being on the table for 5 minutes.
Nice.
I tapped her out and I tapped out and I told her, this is how you do it. You find out what your clientele are into, and you talk to them about that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll all of a sudden think you're worth more than what you're getting paid. They'll tip you accordingly.
Got it.
Nice. Brilliant.
See, and that's the thing. With me, we get tips when we do oil changes and stuff like that. The way we do it in my company is we treat customers as people, not as dollar signs. So people really like that. And once you start treating them as like people, then they start treating you decent and everything.
Right. It works great in sales because it's easier to sell something to a friend than it is to a salesman. So if you treat your customer as if you're a friend of theirs, you're looking out for their best interest, they'll buy from you pretty readily.
Yeah. Wow, man. Interesting stuff.
But that also came from a lot of my psychological training, honestly, because that's more of how people think.
Yeah, but also you got to be pretty sharp at reading social cues as well.
Oh yeah.
Like there's also the non-verbal side.
Yep. I always tell people that when you're in communication, what they say, the words that used, is maybe 5% of what they're trying to say. The inflection they use adds another 5% on it. So total talking to somebody over like voice chat, you're getting maybe 15% if you're lucky about what they're actually trying to say. Whereas if you're talking to them in person, their behaviors, the way they hold themselves, the way they look around, the things that they do, curling their hair or how they position their body, all has something to say about what they're trying to actually say. So truth of the matter is, over communication like this, you really only get a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, true. But that's what comes with using a headset.
Exactly.
But it's enough.
Yeah, you can generally tell quite a bit about a person just from the inflection they use and the words they use and how they use them. Makes a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that the amount of times, tone can be such an important thing. I noticed that much more in a mostly female environment. The way I said stuff mattered more than what I was actually saying.
Yep.
And yeah, I actually got in hot water with that one time because I'd said something which I'd sort of meant in a reasonably harmless way, but the way that was kind of understood, the understanding of my own tone and stuff like that completely changed how the other person saw it, and that's where it's that was quite a challenging thing because I've kind of gone from working in mostly male environments to mostly female, and then to sort of somewhere in between. So like when you go from one extreme to another, that has a big sort of cultural impact.
Right.
And yeah, that it is very noticeable.
I mean,
The difference between being with a load of IT guys talking about cock splitting to being with a load of women talking about knitting and topless blokes, just completely different. Yeah, very different subject areas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, there are a lot of weirdos within IT. A lot of weird people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I used to work at my first went to college. I went to college for computer networking.
Right. Okay.
And aside from that, I've always been a computer geek. I've taken apart computers, reprogrammed them, all kinds of fun stuff like that.
Oh, fantastic.
But with that, one of my favorite things was always, it's a picnic. When somebody would call up and say, hey, I have this issue, I'd tell them, well, after I listened to their issue, I'd tell them it's probably a picnic. And they'd say,
yeah, problem in chair, not in computer.
Exactly.
Yes.
That or it's a 10DT problem.
10DT. Yes. What, is that some type of computer?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh man.
I figured you'd get those.
Of course, yeah. It's quite funny because, you know, I mean, I did a web design and development degree, and then went into learning and development. It's just yeah, the whole IT thing. That for me, the horrible thing was how IT people were treated. Like they were always treated like rubbish, and I just went, no, I'm not allowing myself to be treated like that. You know, and me being me, after a while, I'd tell someone where to get off. So at that point, I decided, yeah, this is not
Read it.
good option.
That's kind of like the whole stereotype of a D&D player. Everybody expects D&D players to be pockmarked teenagers living in their parents' basement, eating Cheetos and drinking soda.
Yeah. Yeah, that's far from true.
But in reality, you have people like, say, for example, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He plays D&D.
Does he?
Yeah.
I heard that.
He's actually a DM. No, Dungeon Master.
Is
what about Henry Cavill?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but Henry Cavill's a complete geek. So
Yeah.
That doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
I'm
But-
putting him in there.
But The Rock, considering he's weighted out, he's a freaking weightlifter and all the rest of that stuff, and he's the last person people would expect to be a D&D player.
Yeah. Well.
Weightlifter, movie producer, movie star,
Yep.
XFL owner.
When I found that out, I busted out laughing, and I was like, I would love to be in one of his games.
From what I understand, there's a lot of celebrities that are D&D.
Oh yeah. Well, because when you think about it, being in a D&D game is really not that different from being an actor. And it kind of helps develop those skills. Because you're pretending to be something you're not.
Well, yeah. But that's true anytime you have an actor.
True. But with characters like through D&D, you're still trying to be within a certain set of stereotypes, so to speak. Like, for example, if you're going to be a high elf, you're generally going to be snooty and, you know, uppity about things and look at that everybody else as if they're kids and don't really know what they're talking about. Whereas if you're a gnome, you're going to be a lot more flighty, you're going to be a lot more curious and just running around, you know. So they try to fit their behavior or their pattern within that set, which really does help translate over to acting.
Yeah, interesting idea. Yeah, definitely worth mulling over.
That's why you'll find a lot of actors who play D&D because
Like on Big Bang Theory.
Something's breaking through the wall.
A bunch of actors, William Shatner, that kind of stuff.
yeah. Well, one of the ones you can also look at is, have you ever heard of a group called Critical Role on YouTube?
No, I haven't.
Well, they're a bunch of voice actors who does all kinds of different cartoons and animations and stuff like that. And they have a D&D party that they do on a periodic basis. They've got a lot of episodes right now that they've done. That they bring their own, they create their own characters and they create their own personality for those characters and they create different voices for the different characters. So they really try to bring it out to, you know, bring it alive, so to speak. But they really show how it how it works in the field.
And they're absolutely hilarious.
They just like to have fun.
Yeah, that sounds quite interesting.
It is fun to watch, especially if you're into D&D. If you're not into D&D, but you're into psychology, that would still be something fun to watch, just watching how the different personalities play with each other and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's... I would say one of the best ones to start with, if you haven't ever seen them before, is what is it? Vox gives Grog.
Vex offers Greg. Vex offers Grog an experience.
It's only about a 5-minute video or so, but it really does kind of show what the whole thing is, what they do.
Ah, okay. Yeah, no, I like the idea of that. I like good animations anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, they did an animation called Vox Machina, but these are showing them be sitting at a table and just acting.
Brilliant. That I mean, it's very hard to do that.
It really is.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Still going strong as well. Revs kept me revved up. So yeah, right. But like how did you manage to get yourself like off the streets and kind of into like a decent situation? Like, that's insane.
Well, it took a lot of effort from ourselves, from myself, and from a lot of other people helping. It is really what it was, because I couldn't have done it alone, honestly.
Stay close.
I've unfortunately been homeless a number of times throughout my life, and each time I learned something different. But one of the main things is that there are a lot of organizations out there that are willing to help in some way or form, some way, shape, or form, whether it's just giving me a shower or giving me a place to wash my clothes or giving me a meal. You know, those are life-saving things, even though most people take that for granted.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really hard to find a job if you're walking around in dirty clothes and stink all to high heaven because you haven't been able to shower in a week.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
So finding an organization that's willing to wash my clothes for me, and finding an organization that's willing to allow me to take a shower, really does help.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I mean, how do you end up in that situation? Like, you're a really bright guy and things.
Well, a lot of times it's I am really smart, but I also, because of the fact that I constantly think about everything, I have extreme high anxiety.
Oh, right, okay.
So that caused me to not be able to hold a job for a long time, to not be able to communicate with people because I would be afraid of dealing with them. So I would try to back out of things, or I would try to, you know, I would just going to work would give me a panic attack. Because I would be thinking about the fact that, you know, a car could swerve out of control, or somebody could come by and shoot me, or any number of things could happen while I could slip on something and crack my head open. You know, these kind of things were popping into my head every time I would go to leave the house. So it was really hard for me to get past a lot of that. But a lot of times, then I would end up on the streets because I couldn't pay my bills, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. So it put me into a depression spiral, which really just fed into everything. Got to the point where I had a plan, I had a strategy, I was ready to take my own life, and different people would step in at different times that would keep me from doing it, but never enough to really pull me out of it. I didn't really start to fully recover from a lot of that until I had my heart attack. Once I had my heart attack, I realized I don't want to die. And that just switched my perspective around 180% right off the back.
Ah, interesting. And
I try to be around and help you guys as I could.
Mm-hmm.
That's so then is that something you've had to get counselling for yourself, or?
Oh yeah, I went to counseling. Unfortunately, because of my psychological knowledge, most of the time I knew more than my therapist did.
Eek.
And they understood that, which meant I had to actually have a psychologist, a doctor, actually do my therapy because they were the only ones that could.
Wow.
Because everybody else, I would either turn the therapy around on them, or they couldn't figure out a way to pull me out because everything they would know how to do, I was already trying.
I can fight now.
You will stay out of it, boy.
Right,
Speak
I
no
see.
more of this.
Yeah, that's really tough. Like, wow, man. Like, yeah, if you got more knowledge than the person, then you're not gonna have the respect for them and things.
Right.
That they're able to do their job effectively. Wow.
Right. And usually I would tell them things, I go into the therapy session, I would tell them, you know what? I already know I know more than you do. It's not being arrogant, it's just a statement of fact. But what I'm here for isn't for insight from you, it's just as a sounding board for me to bounce ideas off of, because I need to work through some things and I need somebody to listen to what I'm saying and give me their own perspective on what I'm saying.
Interesting.
And that worked for a little while, but didn't work well until I got with a doctor who was able to point me in a way that I wasn't used to thinking.
So then that I'm guessing he helped you identify the kind of negative thought patterns.
Well, not so much that, because I already knew what those were and what was going on there, but he helped me identify why I had those negative thought patterns and where they were coming from in a way that I hadn't really considered before.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, that's really kind of interesting.
And why those thought processes, because a lot of it was stemming from my childhood, obviously. And he helped me understand, helped me look at, instead of seeing these things as the way I was, beating myself down, that they were bullshit that this other person or people were projecting onto me that was actually about themselves. So it allowed me to look at it more from that perspective rather than as this is something that's about me. More it's about them.
Interesting. Wow, man. So has that sort of given you stronger trust in the process of counselling?
It gives me trust in the fact that counseling can work if the person is willing to go through the work. But as far as counseling for me, again, most of it I already know, unless I can come up with a different perspective than what I originally thought. And that's, you know, it's not traditional counseling for me.
So then, really, you, it sounds like rather than someone with more of a psychological background, it sounds like you need someone with more of a philosophical background who could like just put out different ideas for you to just sort of like process through.
Right. Because of the fact that I had such a grounding in psychological, and I do, you know, with philosophy being one of the grandfathers of psychology, I did have a lot of philosophical knowledge as well, but the nice thing about philosophy is there's always different points of view.
Yeah.
And if you keep yourself open, you can see those and learn from those different points of view.
I mean, I've benefited enormously from Marcus Aurelius meditations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a whole lot of interesting stuff from the Stoic philosophy.
Right.
He was a really smart guy, not just very apparent, and yeah, just even some of the things with like being careful with your emotions and about ruling your emotions and things.
Roy,
I
over
think
here.
some of that stuff can be quite beneficial.
Oh yeah.
I've seen this language before.
But yeah, also being high in neuroticism, that's difficult.
Yeah.
That's really tough. So, like, I mean, well done for getting through that. Like, you know,
Look here.
to the point where you can actually, you know, you've got a family and you can actually be on the internet gaming. Like, I mean, come on, that's an achievement.
Right.
Even the world serpent.
So, yeah.
Right. There was a point in time where this was questionable.
Hrungnir's body source. Idiot.
You know, and now, well, obviously here I am. So.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, sometimes, you know, that there's an Eastern philosophy which says that to be able to really enjoy a very cold glass of water on a hot day, you first have to have the evil of lots of feeling of thirst, and sometimes that's also true of the challenges that people go through in life as well.
Oh yeah.
On the computer. You know better,
So
kid.
so that's just something that came
there.
to mind. And you know, I always think like when people actually, you know, achieve something like that and are pushing past stuff and get themselves to a better place than what they were, that's always worth saying a well done on, because not everyone does it.
Right, and even when they do, it's difficult.
But also, let me ask you, all that struggle and things, do you feel it's been worth it?
Yes, actually. It's given me an insight into things that I would probably otherwise look down upon. Like, for example, homelessness. I understand that it's not necessarily about people who are drug addicts or lazy or anything like that. There's sometimes another issue there that we can help with. And as such, this last Christmas time, I did a charity stream to help raise over $10 million. Well, we didn't quite raise $10 million, but that was our goal. We raised $7.5 million to build houses for people who are homeless.
Which is fantastic.
Right, and I also year long I do charities for a group called Extra Life. That what it is gamers doing charity streams that the money goes directly into the children's hospital to help kids who are physically ill with like cancer or whatever's going on with them, that they need to be in the children's hospital. It helps pay for their medical care. It helps pay for their family being there, because family structure is important, especially in recovery. It helps provide them with like video games and stuff, so they're not always thinking about what they're going through. They can just relax and play video games sometimes. So the charity that I work with for Extra Life, that's what we do on a constant basis. And these things, I feel I gained the capability for these things through the trials and tribulations that I've gone through. It gives me a new appreciation for them.
Atreus, follow me.
Be right there.
Yeah, and that's to be honest, that's fantastic. Like, my view of the homeless is there's a lot of mental health stuff with it. There's a lot of people who are struggling with mental health, and because of that, they've not been able to hold down organise them.
And that is true. For example, one of the guys I met while I was out homeless, when I was in my teens,
I think you got him.
He was an older guy that I would sit and talk with all the time, and he had some very interesting stories.
Don't quit.
And I found out one day after he had passed away, I realized he passed away because I hadn't seen him at our normal spots for a while. And I read in the newspaper that he had died, and that he was actually a multi-millionaire. And what ended up happening when I got a hold of his family to find out what was going on, why was he on the streets? The guy has money out of the freaking wazoo. Why was he living homeless? So I got a hold of his family, and I found out that in reality, what ended up happening was his wife had died, and he didn't know how to handle that. So he just walked off one day and just left everything. And that was why he was homeless, is because he was in a dramatic grief process that literally broke him.
That is really breaking. I mean that's a horrendous amount of grief.
Yep. And then another guy I talked to, he used to live in LA, and he was a computer engineer there, and he was making tons of money. And his wife ended up getting cancer. And throughout all the treatments and doctor's appointments and everything she needed, he missed so much work that he lost his job. Well, when he lost his job, he also lost his insurance, which meant all those medical bills were piling up. And, he didn't want to give up on his wife, so they still tried to find whatever they could to try to make things work. Eventually, he ended up losing her anyway. And by this point, he's broke. He has no money. He has no place to go. He's broken in many ways, and all he could do was try to find a place to live for the night, try to find another meal. And that's what his life devolved into. So I always tell people, you never know what's going to happen, from one day to the next. You have to take advantage of what you have at the time and just live it to its fullest. And just because somebody's homeless doesn't mean that they did anything wrong. It could be very well that they did everything right. It's just circumstances piled up and they couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I'm thankful we have the National Health Service over here because yeah, you know, if you've got a loved one with cancer, I've seen some of the costs of American healthcare bills just with insurance, never mind without insurance. And yeah, I mean, you guys pay a fortune.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider, like, for example, for my heart attack, it cost me $5,000 just to get to the hospital.
What? $5,000 to just get to the hospital?
Yep.
That's insane.
Thankfully, my insurance paid it, but still.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous. So
That is.
Over here, if an ambulance is called out, it doesn't cost anything. It costs nothing. Zip. Because
same
what?
here.
Yeah. What happens is over here we pay a bit of money out of our taxes, and then that money goes to fund the National Health Service, and everyone pays into it, and yes it sort of gives us slightly more tax, but we still pay less on average than the average American does on healthcare, because we've got it pre-existing in the taxes.
Yep.
So yeah,
and that's one of the things that we're fighting for over here is a universal healthcare system similar to that, because of the fact that we do have so many people who are in those situations where if we had a universal healthcare system, we wouldn't have people going homeless because their loved one is dealing with cancer. You know,
if you have the money, you get the best health care in America.
Yeah.
Because it's not universal. Because it comes at a premium and you can get that.
Yeah. But on top of it, the finances here for the medical system is actually blown out of proportion because of people who don't have insurance, who can't afford the medical care. For example, a single getting Tylenol while you're in the hospital. Now, a bottle of Tylenol will run you about $8 in the pharmacy, and that's 200 pills. Now, getting 2 pills in a hospital will run you $500.
That's outrageous.
But that's because they're using that to pay for those who don't have insurance and aren't able to afford their care. But but still, it shouldn't be that way. You know, if we had a universal healthcare system, it wouldn't be that costly because of the fact that we wouldn't have to be supplanting money for those who weren't able to afford their care.
True. The stupid thing is I've seen people like Ben Shapiro using the term socialized healthcare, which I don't think is very helpful, because you can have a national health system. You don't say like socialized fire service, or socialized military or anything like that.
Right.
And so you can still have capitalism and have a national health service, and that's really some of the stupidest stuff with the sensitive arguments in America.
Right, and what it really comes down to is those are scare points to try to get people to vote the way they want. But what it really comes down to is that some of them, if they're being honest, will actually tell you that the reason why they don't want this stuff is because they don't want to pay for somebody else.
also
Yeah.
doesn't help that the one percent doesn't want to be taxed like the rest of them.
Yeah. And you know what I find really funny about that? I went back to look for. I was trying to figure out what the cost of living versus minimum wage is, and you know where the disparity is in that. And I looked back to the 1950s, 1951, actually 1930. The cost of living was lower than minimum wage at the time. But at the same time, the rich were taxed 90% of their income.
It was like 70%.
That was harder than usual, right?
There will be more.
1930s. Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Roosevelt, freaking, like, dude, you gotta pay your share of the tax.
I guess we need to get back up there.
And you know, so like I said, they had an astronomical tax bracket that they were being taxed for at that time, but they were still making a profit. They were still making money off of it. You know, they still had more than enough money to pay for all their bills and whatnot else. Nowadays, there's such a disparity between the rich people and middle class and lower class here that you could tax the rich people 90%, and it's going to cover a hell of a lot of our social structures that we need, like food stamps and medical care and the police departments and fire departments and EMTs, all that stuff. It would cover a massive chunk of that, and it really wouldn't affect their living standards. But as far as they see it, it's less money in my pocket, so it's less money in my bank account, which means I don't want it.
Yeah. But I think this is where like a lot of the Scandinavian countries have some of the best models on this stuff, because they have the highest lowest income levels, where like if you're on their welfare system, you are earning a decent enough amount of money. Well, you're not earning it, you're being given a decent enough amount of money that you can properly live on it.
But I think a lot of European countries, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they also tax their wealthy a little bit better than what the U.S. does.
Yeah. So what Denmark does is they have heavy taxes on wealthy goods. So it's like if you wanted to buy, like, say, a Ferrari or something in Denmark, you're gonna pay like 90% tax on it.
They're untouched. Look.
90% of the value that you pay for that product is going to be taxed. So they focus on taxing luxuries, so that when wealthy people buy that stuff, they are pumping that money in through the taxes. And you know that Sweden and Denmark in particular have some pretty good systems in place, and yeah, that they have a higher rate of tax. The only thing that I disagree with Sweden on it is they've made alcohol super expensive over there, which is why whenever Swedes are travelling across Europe, they're always drunk off their heads because they can't get alcohol cheaply in their own country.
You know, and the other thing that I find interesting about a lot of that is
pretty expensive here too, alcohol.
Yeah. Is that a lot of times those taxes and that are kind of hidden, because here they show the cost of an item, like say for example a loaf of bread being $1, let's say. They don't tell you the tax is 5.5% on top of that. So when you go to the checkout, you end up paying the $1 plus another 5 cents or 6 cents for that loaf of bread. Whereas if there, it's $1.06. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the tax is in the price tag, not. So it's not something that you actually see right off the bat because you're budgeting for whatever you see the price of an item is. The tax becomes an afterthought.
Yeah, and that's something that I found really annoying when I went over to America years ago, because over here, you wouldn't actually be able to do that by law, because over here we got laws in place where you've got to actually show the full price for the item on the shelf.
Right.
So tax is automatically included. So if an item's saying, you know, £1.20 for a loaf of bread, then it is £1.20. It's not £1.20, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's a ton of tax on it on top. No.
Right.
The only place that's separated is like for you know painter decorator type people, because if you earn a trade, you can get paints and things deducted from the tax. So in those places they have to show the amount on the shelf and then the amount of tax as well. You have to have both together.
Yeah.
So there's no like surprise pricing, which when I was in America, I was well annoyed. It's like, yeah, oh, that item's $5, fantastic. I've just got $5. Nope, it's actually $6.10 or whatever.
Right.
Really irritating.
Not only that, but European tips are a lot different in Russia too. They include it in the bill instead of in the U.S. They
came back.
It is finished.
We don't necessarily include tipping in it. That's why we tip the weight and stuff.
Yeah, we only do tipping if someone's been fantastic.
Find something.
Like we don't just tip, but then the waiters and waitresses actually earn a reasonable wage to start with.
Right.
So,
which is not the case here.
Yeah.
So it's different.
Waitresses and waiters, they make like do something an hour. That's why they have to be put
right, which is ridiculous in many ways. But the truth of I seriously think that if we were to include tax in the price tag here, we could raise the taxes on items from being like 5% to 10%, and nobody would even bat an eye at it. And they would actually feel like they're making out on the deal because what they see in its price tag is what they get at the cash register, and they feel like, wow, I'm not paying taxes on this. It's like, well, yeah, you are, but you're not seeing it because it's not separate. And that would mean that much, that would mean double the amount of money going into taxes than what we're getting now, which would help support a lot of services in a way that we can't at the moment.
To give up this easily. So close to the
start. I mean that makes
I'm not giving up. I can
makes
do this.
sense.
I just have to
but
catch my breath.
also like the other funding aspect to this is that there are things in New York like Billionaires Row and stuff where people have got all these properties and they've been able to have them because that they've got huge tax breaks doing other stuff, and it's like all the tax breaks that very wealthy people are getting. Those tax breaks mean that things aren't funded there, and also offshore tax havens.
Yep.
Right? There are So there's a British overseas territory called the Cayman Islands. There are tens of thousands of companies registered there, and I know there are American companies registered there as well.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just like, hang on a minute, Swiss bank accounts and all this stuff. No. That's the stuff to be clamped down upon. It's like, yeah, if you're moving your money offshore, then gonna tax you somewhere else, because because that's the horrible thing. The amount. So in the UK, Starbucks paid £1 million in tax, but their turnover was in like the hundreds of millions. And so what happened was, in the British public there was an outcry about it. People boycotted Starbucks, and then Starbucks came out and made a statement. Everything that we've done is above board, perfectly legal. We've had trained accountants make sure this is the case. However, because this is causing an ethical issue, we will offer to pay more on top of those existing taxes. So in the end, they only paid a bit more taxes because the public kicked up a fuss about it.
Right.
And yeah, so that's the thing. There are lots of companies getting away with it. Google have a base in Ireland to make sure that they're not paying as many taxes and things. Like they're all at it. And and it's like, well, yeah, let's sort that out, and then that will help with a lot of things.
Yep.
But anyway, Rev, I really need to be going to sleep now. It's late here.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing myself here. I was just getting ready to log off, I think, because it is getting pretty late here. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, good. Having a chat and things.
Yeah, good talking to you. Good getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
I got to know you guys.
Yeah.
In and out. I left and went and ate dinner and shit.
Yeah.
Bag.
But I do think we should probably get ready, hon.
Okay.
Alright, see you guys. Bye.
Yep.
See you later, Maka. I'll talk to the rest of you guys later. Everybody have a good night and dream sweet.
Yeah, peace out, guys.
Yeah.
Everybody's leaving me now.
Mind? Well, don't look now,
but our friends who were hiding in the trees are back for more. Go on, give that axe a twirl.
Got room for me behind there?
So long as you don't break nothing.
Adequate.
Adequate? You know what's adequate? That footwork! You step in shit! Hey, Paul can kill. You gonna learn to do that too?
This road, it leads to the mountain?
Should put you in the right direction, sure. Want to see my wares again?
Come.
It was nice meeting you, Brock. I'll be thinking of a name for you.
You left me to fight alone.
I did.
People are one thing. Everything else you fight. Until I say stop or we are dead. Understand? Pull your weight or we go home.
I understand.
Good then. This way.
You have to stop being a grumpy pants. That's why you didn't rest him. Get his anger out.
Wait there.
I have to keep the axe in the thingy.
Wait there.
Alan? Hmm. Hi, Bubba.
Wait there.
It's not cold in here. You sure? You really sure though? I'm kidding, yes, we live in the Midwest. Ow, I just poked in myself.
Now, boy.
Come on, seriously.
I mean, I'm not tired.
You sure?
Hey, that could be valuable.
You sure? But are you sure? Is that all you're thinking about being is playing laptop, playing Minecraft at school on your laptop?
Wow. Never been this close to the mountain before. Looks so big. Wish Mom was here to see it.
He wants to show affection, but he's incapable of.
Oh boy.
available.
look at that. What is it?
Boy,
Look, there are runes written along the side.
what does it say?
As we are, we two, we three. As I alone can never be.
A riddle.
Maybe there's a clue around here.
It's that rubber ball. I told you guys to throw it away. You peeling the... Huh? I didn't say it was your fault. I'm just saying it's... I've told you guys to throw it away.
They're turning. Come back down. I think that part's right.
It's not what it's supposed to be. Nope.
I see runes.
Boy, what do those runes say?
Oh, it says family. That's not a clue. It's the answer. What I alone can never be. Right?
Use your knife and trace the runes into the sand.
Really? Kinslow. Something happened! It worked!
Oh boy.
I'm happy we met Brock, but I'm happier we're leaving this place.
It is behind us now.
Climb. Thank you.
What's that up there?
Always. Not just a little. Always.
Boy, these tracks.
A boar, maybe? Not sure, but I'll find it.
Go. It is important for a warrior to keep his skills sharp.
Yes.
Look out!
Ow. guys, gonna call it a quits tonight.